Hey, Calamity here with the Nan Company on Canyon Road. Uh, Today we got a special guest, Tse Tsan from
Santa Clara Pueblo.
Santa Clara Pueblo. And yeah, we'll do a small little interview. And of course, her work's right here in the back. But yeah, welcome to this gallery. And thank you for your time and everything. And let's talk about how did you inspire to become an artist?
I've always been a creative. I think I was a creative person since I gained consciousness. I was always the kid who was getting in trouble for drawing in class and doodling on homework, and so like that was like a natural part of my identity from the very beginning. But I started pursuing it more in earnest in high school. I attended New Mexico School for the Arts, where I started being trained in those more technical skills, and then I just continued on through college, kind of on my own.
Okay. And your technique is like what is your technique you do? Is it more?
So the work, originally my work started with digital illustrations. So I'll draw everything in Photoshop with a Wacom tablet, so a drawing tablet. And then I print that onto canvases and use that as an underpainting, and then go over the top with the traditional mediums, the acrylics.
Okay, that's what's up. And inspiration for a lot of your work is it like cultural, or is it something just you, or is it just unique to you? Or
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take inspiration from my heritage, right? You'll see the traditional Pueblo patterns incorporated into the work. And then I also try to tell the story of like my experiences as an Indigenous person, like specifically, and especially in relation to like the religious teachings as well. So one of the things that I was taught growing up is the creator is in everything, living or not. And so I really try to convey that in my work, that connection to the land and its creatures.
did you have like any relatives that were in art, or is just,
yeah, super creative family, woodworkers, musicians, beaters. That was always like something that was super encouraged. But yeah, and then I was named after, actually my Indigenous name, Tse Tsan, my Tewa name. I was named after my aunt Pablita Velarde, who was a pretty well-known artist from Santa Clara, with kind of the hope that I would carry on that creative spirit.
So to be in the DNA a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Awesome. And from Santa Clara, and you're pretty much around New Mexico most of your.
Oh yeah, I grew up here my whole life in Santa Clara Pueblo. It's up near Espanola, but I also had family that's a little further north, like in the Taos area as well.
Okay, yeah. And I guess when did you start making art? As like it's not full time for right now, but is it, or is it?
No, it was. So I work full time as a senior business operations analyst for the state of New Mexico, and then this is, I do my art any second of free time I have outside of that. But like I said, I had used art as kind of a way to support myself through college, and then just sort of continued building on that. Once I reached the workforce and tried to find opportunities in galleries, exhibitions. Indian market, I think, was one of the first big steps in my artistic career as far as like getting a little bit more exposure for my work.
Okay. And you did Indian market. I think I saw you place a ribbon this year. Did you do it last year too?
Yes, I've only done it 2 years so far. Both years I got a first place ribbon and a best in division. Yeah, so hoping I can clutch that for a third year in a row, but we'll see.
Awesome. As an artist, what are some of the challenges that you had to face, attending markets or showing your work out?
Yeah, so one of the main critiques is the medium of digital work itself, right? Especially in the era of AI, where the value of digital work is really being called into question. And not that it had a place in fine arts very strongly to begin with. But I have to trust that I put the same amount of work and effort into like that digital process as I would a traditional piece. And I think that's reflected, in the outcome of the work. And then outside of that, one of the things that comes up is the nudity within the pieces, right? And sometimes that comes from other Indigenous people who might critique that it contributes to the sexualization of Indigenous women, or that it's crude. But I was actually taught that traditionally, like our bodies were not taboo in the way that they are post colonization. You know, it was just a natural part of who we are. And I think that the way that I portray these figures honors like the femininity and the strength in that femininity. So yeah, even though there's a little bit of pushback on it, I still feel very firm in the type of work that I create in that way.
Let's talk about symbolisms in your work. And is there, would you like to elaborate some of your symbolisms that you work with?
Mm-hmm. So again, I draw pretty strong influence from my heritage. You know, sometimes I'm trying to convey more general themes like the natural cycle of creation, femininity, environment. But sometimes the storytelling can be a little bit more direct. One of the pieces I made was titled Unforgiven Priests, and it was a work about the boarding schools and kind of the trauma that resulted from that. So the piece itself, it has three priests in the center. They have horse skulls as heads, and they're kind of encased in this Spanish cabinet. On either side of them, there's two children that are grayed out. They're the only part of the painting that's gray. And then looking down over the top of the whole scene is the Virgin Mary, right? And the idea that I had in my head was that if the Virgin Mary was real, she wouldn't have forgiven the priests for the sins that they committed against us and our people and our children. So in that way, I try to bring those stories into my work and just kind of use it as a way to process some of the trauma that we experienced just growing up as Indigenous people.
Next question. What did you find most rewarding while you're doing your work? At shows or etc.
Yeah, so I think actually the most rewarding moments, they didn't have to do with like winning awards or shows. I think it was the moments where I was able to heal my community via my art. I can think of one story in particular. My grandfather passed away. And typically when people close to me pass away, I like to do a portrait in their honor to kind of process that grief and also gift it to the families so that they have, you know, something new of that person to have. But so when my grandfather passed away, I wanted to do a portrait of him that incorporated a frame made from the antlers that he collected. And I talked to my aunt about it. I asked her to go into his shop and sort of pick out some of the antlers for the piece. And she called me right after and she asked if I had ever talked about this project with my grandfather. Because there was a period where he was sick and we knew he wasn't going to be with us for much longer. But, you know, I told her no. And she sent me a picture of his workbench. And on the workbench, there was a line of antlers laid out on the bench. And he had a note with his handwriting that just said Maya's frame on it. And like, I think that's probably like the most powerful spiritual experience I've ever had because it was like, I'm not alone. He's here. He's watching over me. Like that's just one of those moments in life where there's not like a good explanation for it, you know? And so, yeah, like I completed the portrait. I tucked that note that he wrote in the back of the frame. I gave it to my grandmother and she loved it, you know, cried, has it up in her house, front and center, very proud of it. But that's the most rewarding aspect of it for me is to be able to offer that creativity and offer that healing to the people that I care about.
Where do you see yourself maybe next year or 5 years from now? Do you see yourself like continuing to be an artist?
Yeah, it's funny because in a lot of ways, I don't think very long term. Like I take it piece by piece, right? With every piece, I experiment with the style, see what I can add, see what I can change. And, you know, obviously I have goals. Like I'd love, you know, to continue making work for this gallery, continue to expand on the shows and exhibitions. But I think it's just going to be, I'm at a place in my life where I'm just really focusing on the craft itself and making work that I'm proud of. So it'll probably continue to be, you know, these mixed media, digital illustrations, similar themes. It's just going to be a matter of like honing that craft in my young adulthood.
So last question. Do you have any advice for like young, inspiring artists that maybe coming up?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is to be really true to the vision of what you want to create. I think when I was younger, I felt a lot of pressure to sort of move into those traditional mediums and appeal to that tourism market, which, I have so much respect for the people who do use traditional mediums and keep that practice alive. But that wasn't true to what I wanted to make. And I think that whenever you do anything, it's a matter of finding what you're genuinely passionate about and what you're willing to put that work into. So as long as you care about what you want to create, you should follow that vision.
So awesome. Thank you so much for watching here at the Dinan Company. And we're happy to have Tse Tsan here. And yeah, come by the gallery, the Net Company. So we are going to have a couple of pieces up here. So this is one of them. And of course, the new one's here on the table, and we're going to put up on the wall soon. But love you guys for watching, and thank you so much for your time, for coming here and to share your story.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And next time.